Today, I'm going to tell you a macabre story that happened in a town very close to the city. There were living happily a couple of husbands. His wife's name was Marta, and her husband's name was Zaf. They were no longer working because they had long since retired from their work and dedicated themselves to rest and enjoy their last days. Every day they did the same routine. In the morning they went for a walk and always greeted their neighbors, especially Roberta, who was a young and very kind girl. Then they went to the supermarket and from time to time they went shopping at the mall. And on some occasion Dove was seen doing gardening. Martha and Dove did that routine for several years, until one day Martha's neighbors began to notice Dove upset, and they observed that Martha left without her husband. She was seen alone in the streets, alone in the supermarket, and in the places that both frequent, and this happened for several weeks. Roberta surprised because she no longer saw Dove, and one day she asked to Martha about Dove. Martha answered she with excuses, and her answer it was that he didn't know live because he was sick and no longer felt very well. One day, Roberta passing by the front of Martha and Dove's house and noticed that the door was not closed properly. She approached to close it and unintentionally pushed the door and entered the house. Upon entering the house, she noticed that it was dirty and messy, and there was only one plate on the table. She also noted that there was no Dove clothes in the closet. Roberta left there very distressed and with many doubts, because she thought it was not true that Dove was sick, since there were no traces of his thing in the house. She thought that something very serious had happened to Dove. Roberta decides to go to the police to conduct an investigation about Dove. Detective Jones attends the case and finds everything Martha tells him very suspicious. This later, Detective Jones visits Martha and asks about her husband. She tells him that he is no longer at home, that the previous day he illness so had taken him to another country to take care of his health since the city climate was not favorable for him. Detective Jones is not very convinced of Martha's response, and the next day he decides to visit Roberta and asks if she knew the son that Dove had. Since Martha had told him that Dove had left with his only son, surprised Roberta replies to Detective Jones that Dove had never been able to have children, that he had never been known to a family. Again, Detective Jones visits Martha at the house and arrives just at the moment when she was about to leave. The detective stops her and he enters her house, but this time he entered the back garden. He observed that a part of the garden had no grass. Asks Martha and she says that is her dog Grape. He didn't believe she and begins to dig the earth, and by surprise there was Dove's body. Martha had no choice but to confess that she had killed him for 2 months, because she was bored of his mistreatment. After confessing that, the detective took her prisoner and never heard from that lady again. Dove crime was of great rumor in the town. The house is left alone and abandoned, and is said to scare at the night. Thank you.